are England back on track? Listen, it's a bonus point victory. I thought for the first sort of 50 minutes, played pretty well. There's some good parts of the game. Marcus Smith gets man of the match. Some decent performance. The second half, I thought, was pretty flat. And do you know what? When you say pretty flat, there were errors by England. There are some new players, some new combinations, but tip the old slipper to the Italians. You've got to tip the slipper to the Italians a bit. They played some decent stuff at times. Couldn't get over the try line, but they put England under pressure. I know England was soaking up things, and it was always a case of they're in complete control. So there weren't panic stations at all. But I was actually pretty impressed with Italy at times. And people look at it and go, "Oh, England should win by 50, 60 points," and all that stuff. And ordinarily, like I've said, we're a team a bit in transition. There's still going to be a hangover from the Scotland game last week, where certain changes were made, and it was interesting that he brought George Ford on this week and left Marcus Smith on the field. So this is bloody New England, mate, the New England rugby team. Harry Randall starts at 9. Thought he did reasonably well. A couple of errors, but we know he's going to bring spark. But these players have got to be given confidence, and they've got to have that belief behind them. It was good, but could have been better. But again, we're on we're a different pathway team at the minute. We're blooding new players, new combinations, and off the back of that, you're going to get errors. And we saw a few at the weekend, but we saw some good stuff as well.
When you look at England's performance, what sticks out as some of the biggest positives for you guys?
Marcus Smith looked unbelievable, without stating the obvious.
Again.
I mean, that would have been, I don't know, would that have been an easier game or a harder game for him? It would have been an easier game because they were on the front foot more, could take risks, could throw the ball around. He looked unbelievable. He didn't, really, when you look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, from a forwards perspective, it was great to see Ollie Chessum come on. I thought he looked very good when he came on. He stole a line out, nearly stole another line out, was physical. No one knew where he'd come from, really. Leicester, that's where he's come from. With the pedigree that they've got there now and what's happening there, he looked very good. I thought Jamie George as well, wasn't even in the squad in the autumn, came on, scored a couple of tries. But this is the question, right? When you go away from this game and you look at the last 2 weeks, what have you learned from England, really? As in, I don't think it's beneficial, no disrespect to Italy, having Italy next up and then having a week off. But we did get to see, another centre partnership, and I'm sure Manu will come back in. But Marcus Smith, Andrew, and when we speak about Finn, it's all about Marcus Smith at the minute.
Yeah, and what did we learn over the last 2 weeks? Well, Marcus Smith's our 10, and just leave him in the jersey for the whole game unless he's either having a stinker or he's injured. I think that's a massive learning for Eddie Jones, and he still hasn't admitted it. I know he actually read something in the week that he said, "Oh, I don't listen to any of the press. I don't read it. I don't see it. So I don't really know what everyone's on about." And then in his press conference after the game, I think Austin Healey had done an article saying, Italy it's their opportunity to beat England or something. And he had a little pop at Eddie Jones, and straight in the post-match press conference, Eddie Jones just said, "Which one of you boys writes Austin Healey's article? He's got egg on his face now." So it does get there. And I know he listens to this podcast because he told me at the Coventry Building Society Arena a few weeks back. But what have we learned? We've learned Ellis Genge can throw a 20-yard pass off his left hand. My God, what a seed that was. Now, I think back to some of the props that I played with. Unbelievable scrummagers, hard as nails. Could they catch all
Julian
pass?
White.
Absolutely not. Now, Genji, he can run over people, he can get angry, he can wind people up. That's an unbelievable ball from a loose head prop in open play, where the panic normally sets in for loose head props, tight head props, front rowers in open play, whatever, and they go looking for a bit of contact. Hell of a seed out to Jamie George. I thought Jamie George was great again. Interesting, seeing Maro Itoje play 6, I thought he actually, because you're judging him then as a different player, I thought he actually played really well at 6. Which is something that obviously England, need to look at around finding more second rows. He's been so dominant in that position as well. It's the Johnny Sexton thing, isn't it? So obviously Nick Ezekwe's come in. I thought Nick Ezekwe's played really well over the last 2 weeks.
He's been good. Last couple of weeks he's come through this season.
So it's, the dynamics of the team. And I think Eddie Jones is trying to find the formula. He's trying to find the right ingredients. Well, we know the first right ingredient to have is Marcus Smith down the field at 10 for the whole game and giving him the reins. and then ultimately let them pull the strings, because there's bigger tests to come. Like now, I'm looking at Wales up in round 3, and looking at on paper, even though Wales were revitalised against Scotland, I think we should win that. And then we've got 2 of the biggest tests possible: Ireland at home and then France away. So this for us, I said it at the start of Six Nations, we're a bit transitional at the minute. He's bringing new blood in, thinking about the World Cup in 18 months' time. And we've just, we may finish 3rd, 4th, wherever, but these guys have got to be given the opportunity to play and feeling each other out and building combinations. And Marcus Smith's pivotal to that.
Biggest issue for England is the centre. Now, I think Nick Mullins mentioned it on comms that they've had X number of, X being a lot of combinations since the World Cup in 2003. Oh my Manu, he comes straight back in against Wales, doesn't he? Out of all the positions,
I hope he doesn't. Well, because I'm supposed to be doing a Q&A with him pre-match, and if he is playing for England, then I've got to find someone else. So,
selfish.
Well, no, I'm thinking his long-term health. Bring him
Do you
back
not want
for
to beat the Welsh? Do you not want to beat the Welsh?
Yeah, we don't need Manu to beat the Welsh, do we?
Oh, I think you do.
Famous last words. Yeah, I mean, listen, Manu is a point of difference, isn't he? I think Henry Slade's been playing really well. But yeah, I mean, it's always been an issue, the centre combination. You then throw, I know Faz isn't going to be fit in this Six Nations, by all accounts. You throw him into the mix later on, we go to Australia in the summer. It's always an issue, isn't it? Because it has been since the forward Farrell axis. Do you play? You're basically getting Farrell in the team. If he's not right to play 10, you're putting him at 12 because of his leadership and all that stuff. And we've never found a perfect combination in that yet. Although Manu's definitely one of the 2 if he's fully fit.
I reckon, here's my 2 pence worth, not that anyone's going to listen or agree. Marcus Smith, Owen Farrell, because he's captain. And I think England look like, from my perspective, they've missed him a little bit. Manu Tuolangi or an Ollie Lawrence or something at 13, or a Slady.
We've just named loads of players. My best 10, 12, 13. So you basically said, from what people might not agree. How do we agree with that? You've named about 15 players there, Jim. My best 10, 12, 13 would be Marcus Smith at 10, Henry Slade and Manu Tuolangi.
Pod.
Rugby pod.